The date is Monday, June 28. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has advised that vaccinations will continue on Monday, June 28, 2021. There was no vaccine blitz over the weekend. Due to the number of vaccines presently in the country, the ministry will continue vaccinating members of the public who are 50 years and older, are due their second dose, and are closest to the 12th week after their first dose. This will run to Friday, July 2, 2021. With the anticipated arrival of more vaccines on the island over the next 2 days, other members of the public are asked to wait for the instructions from the Ministry of Health and Wellness on how to make appointments for their second dose. The ministry wishes to remind persons not to turn up at any vaccination site across the island unless they are contacted by the local health team. Once contacted, persons should take their vaccination card, TRN, and a government-issued identification or letter from a Justice of the Peace to the vaccination site. According to the ministry's vaccination database, persons who are due their second dose are still within the recommended wait period between doses, as prescribed by the World Health Organization, the WHO. The government's Adopt a Clinic program has raised about $154 million so far. That's the word from Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton. The funds are used to assist in improving quality service delivery in health centers. Dr. Tufton, who was on hand for the adoption ceremony for the Steartown Health Center in St. Anne recently, says Jamaicans have been benefiting from the initiative, but the number of clinics adopted remains short of the target of 100. He says efficiently operated health centers would help to ease the burden on hospitals, whose staff have been experiencing their fair share of challenges throughout the coronavirus pandemic. Dr. Tufton added that members of the diaspora, including the husband and wife team, Ronnie and Janice Watson, who adopted the Steartown Health Center, should be lauded for their interests and contributions. Opposition spokesperson on tourism, Janice Allen, says the Jamaica Public Service Company's request for a rate increase comes at a bad time. Speaking to members of the Senate last Friday, Senator Allen explains why she wants the Jamaica Public Service Company to forego a rate increase at this time.
How can it be fair that at this time the JPS is seeking an increase? The fact is, everyone has had to make sacrifices in this past year. Teachers, tourism workers, Juta and Jekyll drivers, all have had, small and large businesses have had to make sacrifices. So why is it that JPS can't make a sacrifice and forego an increase this year? I think it's only reasonable. How come, JPS? How come?
Her comments follow a media release from the Office of Utilities Regulation, the OUR, saying that JPS has proposed a consideration for an average adjustment of 3.5% of the non-fuel tariff.
The demand charge is an average of the highest usage, which is applied to your account. This is the matter of demand. Can you imagine a hotel that ran almost full in February 2020 and suddenly closed their doors in March or April due to the pandemic, having to pay a demand charge that is equal to that of February for 6 months, even when their doors are closed or running at almost no occupancy at all? That's not fair.
The utility company has proposed a total bill impact of 3.8% for a typical residential customer and 2.2% for small business customers. The OUR says it is reviewing the application from the JPS and expects to make a decision by September. Jamaica and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have agreed to sign a document of intent to aid in boosting air connectivity between the Middle East and the Caribbean. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett made the announcement following a series of meetings last Thursday with Ahmed Al Khatib, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's Minister of Tourism. He had visited Jamaica for the 66th meeting of the UN WTO Regional Commission for the Americas. The meeting also included several regional ministers of tourism who joined the discussions virtually.
We talked about air connectivity and how to link the Middle East, and Asia Minor and the areas within that side of North Africa and East Africa to join us through the mega airlines that are in those areas, particularly the Etihads and the Emirates and the Qatari and the Saudi Airlines. And the agreement that we have coming out of today is that the minister will bring to the table those major partners, while I'll be responsible for coordinating with the countries that are cooperating with us in the multi-destination tourism to enable a hub and spoke arrangement that traffic can move from the Middle East through perhaps a Riyadh hub, as the case might be, and to come into our area and have distribution from one country into the next.
Mr. Bartlett further explained that the multi-destination arrangement is critical to the development of tourism in the region.
This for us is a game changer in the making, because small countries like Jamaica would never have the capacity to have large airlines like Qatar and Emirates and so on coming to us on direct flight. But we can benefit from these airlines coming into the Caribbean space, landing here in Jamaica, but to have distribution from here to other countries in the Caribbean. And so we think that we're onto something here.
Dialogue about this arrangement is expected to continue over the next few days, with the hopes of a memorandum of understanding being finalized. As we continue our countdown to International Reggae Day, which will be observed on July 1, today we put the spotlight on one of reggae's most beloved and controversial sons. We're speaking of no other than Peter Tosh, the self-styled stepping razor. A firebrand, Tosh challenged the establishment, or Babylon, with his revolution-themed music. Tosh lost his life in a home invasion on September 11, 1987. In this rebroadcast, our reporter Marlon Samuels rewinds a tape on the life and death of this musical icon.
I said I am that I am.
Winston Hubert McIntosh was born on October 19, 1944 in Westmoreland in unremarkable circumstances, giving no hint to the legend he would become. Once he embarked on a musical career, his stage name became Peter Tosh, and the rest, as they say, is history. Peter Tosh was one of the musical giants that made up the original Wailers, along with Bunny Livingston Wailer and Bob Marley.
The group was formed about 1961, late 1961. We did the first recording about sometime middle 1962, could be early, which was, the first song was Simmer Down.
To say he was multi-talented would be an understatement. He wrote, sang, and played a range of instruments. A great guitarist, he is credited with teaching Bob Marley how to play the guitar. He himself played a guitar in the shape of an M16 rifle, a self-proclaimed rebel, ready to bust lyrical shots on Babylon.
You preacher man, don't tell me heaven is under the earth. You are a duppy and you don't know what life is really worth. It's not all that glitter is gold, and half the history has never been told. And now we see the light, we gonna stand up for life.
He's also an excellent drummer. After the group went their separate ways, he embarked on a solo career and strode dominantly across the international stage.
Mama said, son, you gotta be a man. You got to be the leader of a reggae band. People coming in from miles around to hear you play until the sun goes down.
When Bob Marley died, Peter Tosh inherited his crown, so to speak, as king of reggae. And he was widely proclaimed across the world.
Cause if you come from Clarendon, and if you come from Portland, say if you come from Westmoreland, don't you
Described by many as a poet of utterance and a prophet of the people, Peter Tosh had a deep insight into the realities of life in Jamaica. Tosh never suffered fools, and he also had an irreverence for the status quo.
So if you live in a glass house, you don't throw stones. And if you can't take blows, brother, don't throw blows.
Tosh, I always thought, was significant not only because he really was a fine musician, but more significantly because I think there was an integrity to Tosh's anger about injustice. I think that no matter how famous he became, no matter what he earned, there burnt within him this indignation about what is wrong.
But there will be no peace till man gets equal rights and justice. Yeah. Equal rights and justice. Oh,
Peter Tosh was also described as a rebel, a toughist, and a stepping razor.
I'm like a stepping razor. Don't watch my time. I'm like a stepping razor. Said I'm dangerous.
On September 11, 1987, Peter Tosh and his common-law wife Marlene Brown were entertaining guests. Among them, drummer Carlton Davis and Michael Robinson.
At about 8 o'clock, I was expecting Fred and his queen Joy. They were both coming over to spend the night with me and Peter. While waiting upstairs, I hear a knock at my gate. I was now upstairs with friends and one of Peter's musicians. I said to one of Peter's brethren, Michael, to go downstairs, let in Fry, because I'm expecting Fry and Joy. Michael now go downstairs, go through my door, saw one of Peter's friends coming through the gate, but dogs them rush him and rush back right through the gate.
I saw that it was not Fry, but it was somebody who visited the yard regularly.
Who was that somebody?
A brother named Lepo. So he being a regular visitor now, I backed off the dogs and told him and his friends to come in, which they did. And enter in this reception area. Two of them pulled guns and said, "Where is Peter? Let's lead them upstairs." March upstairs. And we enter the living room area now. They tell everyone face down. And we all responded face down.
Then I said, tall one just come on. I said, Peter, I say, you got dead tonight. So you nobody said nothing. We come for kill you. I read one come over to me and say, yo, you got dead tonight. So nobody say nothing. Just give me all the US dollar when the bring come. Come over killing her, but give me the US dollar first. So we said to them, say we don't have no money. We just come down, all we have is $200. US, that's all Peter had in the house. So Peter give them the $200 US, tell them to take anything they want, search the house, take anything because we don't have the money, which Peter never have the money. Them search the house, them have us there 15 minutes, them tell us to belly it. No, all of us go down home belly man, because I never want to see them face, the other two guys. Then Lepo him start to talk and say, you say you Marlene, it's you cause this in a Marlene, from Peter, they with you. Peter used to come at jungle, come mind bad man. And you make Peter stop. And I say too damn lie. Everybody know that Bob Marley used to mind bad man, but not Peter Tosh. Peter Tosh is not that type of man. So not because no, Peter Tosh live with a woman who don't want to come just think say use me as a pass. So say Peter don't want man, because that's what he wants. Him always come and want Peter support him because he walks with every musician here looking for support. Just like Peter Tosh house. Which I don't like him, so I always encourage Peter not to allow this boy to come to the house. Because I just don't like him.
JBC radio announcer Jeff Dixon, more popularly known as Free Eye, and his wife arrived in the middle of the home invasion. They too were told to lie face down by the gunmen.
One of them now said, take the machete now, I said, well, let him go and chop off Peter's head. Sister Marlene showed to him that he can't do that. And it's like, one of them now starts say, come just deal with it, come to deal with it, We had to argue with the man, we not argue with the man, we just deal with it, we come to deal with it. And the fire, open fire, the fire single shot first, that caught Marlene in her head. And then fire 2 more shots at Peter in his head. And then they just open up a barrage of shots on us lying on the ground.
There was a piece of black furniture right beside my head that give me my head a dark look. It pick up 5. My mother before pick up all of them. So when them things to me did, them stop fire. Then when just turn, them start fire again. Watch me, she said me no move, then was turn upon Peter. Bubble the boy, just start turning, shot everybody in circle. Go right, round. So I just lay down there because I feel a bullet go through my head, but I feel like it come true. So I said to myself, say, no, something since I can't trust, I now move. I can wait till I move off. Because when them shot, them never move. Then wait a couple minutes, see the body not move, because the body never make a sound. So I said to myself, say, wait, everybody must have farm dead like me. So I wait until I hear like bike start up. I turn the light, I see Peter in a pool of blood, Fred in a pool of blood, Doc in a pool of blood.
Doc Brown died on the spot. Peter Tosh died later that night in hospital. Free Eye succumbed to his injuries 3 days later. Miraculously, Marlene Brown and 3 others who received shots to the head lived. All believe robbery was not the motive for the shooting.
I know, they were sent. Because the order that they came in that day, Peter, you're dead tonight, me come for kill you. Them come for kill me. Them words the me never forget.
For his national contributions to reggae music, Peter Tosh was given a state funeral. Both artist and activist, his lyrics and life continues to inspire many around the world. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
Have no place for the new mind on the set of vampires.
We now get the latest market news and update in this quick business report with Gabriel Thompson.
In Friday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 690 points to close at over 432,000 units. Overall, market activity resulted from trading in 84 stocks, of which 37 advanced, 36 declined, and 11 traded firm. The Junior Market Index declined by 11 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Access Financial Services Limited, and Barita Investments Limited. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments Limited, Blue Power Group Limited, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Trading firm were CAC 2000 Limited, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited, and Siboney Group Limited. Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with over 2.4 million units, followed by Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with over 1.4 million units and Jamaican Teas Limited with over 1.1 million units. In foreign exchange trading for Friday, June 25, the US dollar sold for an average $151.28. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $123.48. The pound sterling traded for $210.05, and the euro sold for an average $182.03. In market data for oil, prices slipped on Monday after hitting more than 2.5-year highs earlier in the session as a spike in COVID-19 cases in Asia put a brake on their rally before this week's OPEC Plus meeting. Brent crude futures slid 20 cents to $75.98 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude lost 10 cents to settle at $73.95 a barrel. And on that note, we close this Monday edition of the Business Report inside the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Pleasant viewing.
Here are some of the top stories making news across our region. St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Chastanet says the announcement of the election date is his prerogative. The government leader has been subjected to withering criticism for failing to declare the poll date around the 5th anniversary of the previous election in keeping with convention. Chastanet, who has expressed concern about the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the election, now says he has misgivings about the potential negative effect on the school term.
Prime Minister Alan Chastanet is unmoved by the growing calls for an election date announcement. Opposition St. Lucia Labour Party supporters, through the Pan Sunday movement, has urged Chastanet to call the election in keeping with convention. But the Prime Minister, who took to UWP Media on Friday afternoon to hail the scheduled resumption of cruise ship tourism, argues he has not violated the Constitution. In the recent years, elections have been conventionally called on or around the 5th anniversary of the previous poll.
The former Prime Minister used his prerogative and called the elections early. Yeah. That is his prerogative. If I choose to call the elections later, but within the Constitution, that is my prerogative.
Exactly.
So let me share something with you.
Yeah.
You have the opposition again as a policy. So I'm not criticizing them personally. As a policy, what is their slogan? Putting people first, which we don't believe. We think it's putting politics first, right? When does school end?
And that's them, eh? When you say we.
So when does school end? July 9th. In this particular year, unlike what they did and they called elections with CXCs, this government is not going to do that. Let the children finish their school.
That's right.
Chastanet, joined by Tourism Minister Dominic Fede, lamented the disruption to academic classes as a result of the pandemic. They both expressed concern about the impact on education since learning institutions will be used as polling stations.
They've been robbed so much for the pandemic already. I mean, look how much time they have lost, and still they are not getting enough face-to-face time.
So you want,
and 2 days a week, 3 days a week, the other week, it really is half the time. So
and if you
the average child is getting 2.5 weeks. So because of politics, we can't just go and just disrupt someone's education.
And mirror this, because of COVID, and because of COVID, the schools that we would be using for the elections, which we do use schools, we would have to shut the school down for a week.
Exactly.
So you would have to go in and sanitize the school from the kids, then have elections, and after the elections, then sanitize the school again before you. So it's going to take you a week. Come on, that makes sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so I want solutions to know we will have elections. Okay, I continue to say that it will be soon. Because relative to 5 years, whatever time is remaining would be very soon.
Very soon.
And the appropriate time will be made that is in the best interest of this country.
The Prime Minister and the ruling United Workers' Party administration continue to question the capacity of the opposition St. Lucia Labour Party to lead the nation, citing what they claim is a lack of coherent policy and vision. According to Chastanet, his administration has delivered and deserves more time to complete its mandate.
In terms of my confidence about the elections, I believe, honestly, that this government has performed. I believe that most solutions genuinely believe that we should be given an opportunity to finish the job. I do not believe that many solutions understand what is the proposition that the Labour Party is offering. And that's why we say it's the same old Labour. It's not any new leadership, it's the same leadership. There's no new ideas, and we know that those ideas have been tested. It was tested between 1997 and 2006. Failed. They came back in 2011 to 2016, and they failed again. What has changed? It's the same old Labour. And I genuinely believe that solutions will allow the United Workers' Party, under my leadership, to finish the job. And that's why we say, let's keep working.
Let's keep working. That's the slogan.
In May, Chastanet drew a correlation between the COVID-19 case counts and the vaccination rates being factored into his decision to announce a poll date and election protocols. A month earlier, in April, the Prime Minister said his hesitation to call the elections was due to his concern for the safety of the population due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Delayed elections are the exception and not the norm in the annals of St. Lucia history. In fact, only 2 elections have been held beyond the anniversary date of the parliamentary term. Elections in St. Lucia are constitutionally due no later than October 12, 2021. That is in keeping with the 90-day period following the date of the first sitting of Parliament, July 12, 2016, after the previous general election on June 6, 2016.
It has been a difficult year and a half for small businesses in Trinidad and Tobago, which have been tested and challenged throughout the pandemic. Reporter Sunil Lala sat down with Trade and Industry Minister Paula Gopi-Scoon as she noted how critically important small and medium-sized businesses are to revive the economy in the post-pandemic era.
Trade Minister Paula Gopi-Scoon estimates that Trinidad and Tobago has over 20,000 SMEs, amounting to 85% of all registered businesses and contributing to 30% of this country's gross domestic product. This is similar to the global figures, which state that formal and informal MSMEs make up over 90% of all firms, account for 70% of employment, and contribute to 50% of GDP. And as the world celebrates Micro, Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises Day on June 27th, the minister says the light at the end of the tunnel is near, especially for these MSMEs.
We have just got to find a market space and get back to producing our products, get back to selling our services, align ourselves with tourism once again, or find new ways of doing it.
Mrs. Gopi-Scoon notes that the retail sector alone would have been hard hit by the pandemic, but reminds that there are various avenues MSMEs could still go to get some relief through grants or loans.
I know it's not easy. I know you're going to be challenged and tested, but there's really a plethora of opportunities still available. A multitude of agencies and ministries and banks that would listen, credit unions.
But the minister says she has been impressed with how some MSMEs have evolved to stay alive during this time and hopes this innovation continues post-pandemic.
I've seen better packaged products. So, for instance, we began to see doubles and sold in packages. That's good. I mean, there was a wrong side of things when people started congregating.
An international survey showed that women-led firms and female employees have been strongly affected by the pandemic, and the minister says that is also the case locally. She is, however, urging women to stand strong. The minister also believes the theme of MSME Day 2021, Key to an Inclusive and Sustainable Recovery, ties in well with TNT's thrust to revive the economy and is advising MSMEs not to be daunted by the pandemic, saying the economy will get going again. Sonolala, TTT News.
In sports, we put the spotlight on cricket. West Indies went down by 16 runs to South Africa in Sunday's 2020 International. The win means that the South Africans have now leveled the 5-match series after the Windies defeated them in the Saturday opening match. In Sunday's match, the Windies stirred the game in their favor after restricting South Africa to a mere 166 for 7 of their 20 overs. West Indies looked in control at 62 for 2 in the 9th over, but their run chase quickly floundered to finish on 150 for 9. And that's the news. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.